In this video we're going to make a Lovecraftian hell portal. You don't see a lot of 45-degree portals, they all seem to be either vertical or horizontal. This portal is going to be oriented diagonally. I got the idea from the teaser art from the game Amnesia Rebirth, which came out a few years ago. In the distance there's this hole with a beam of light shining out of it, and I always thought that looked really intriguing. After a few quick sketches I came up with this design, a Lovecraftian hell portal with maw-like spikes surrounding the central portal. I imagine you would see all manner of demonic fiends pouring out of this thing. Like for example the ones from this video's sponsor, the TRAPPER'S Lodge. Patrons at their soldier tier get part 3 of the Fiends of Incandriox this month. They are a demon dragon army that's all about packing a punch. All models come professionally pre-supported by Atlas 3D and easily come off of their supports. This army is compatible with one-page rules games and comes with a fully unique army book. Or if you're more into RPGs, there's the Trapper tier, currently producing the Gods of the Lost Continent. You get a ton of unique dinosaur-themed files as well as a 48-page module full of maps, stat blocks, and items for a fully playable experience. My personal favorite is the Prismasaurus. These guys have crystal armor on their backs, heads, and tails. Pretty cool stuff. Each tier is $12, but you can get both for just $18. Of course, you can also get the models from their previous sets on My Mini Factory, where the summer sale is currently going on and all their models are 50% off until the end of August. A big thank you to TRAPPER'S Lodge for sponsoring this video. Now back to the portal project. I wanted to try using an LED backlight for this portal, so I cut a hole out for the light. I left the hole big enough to fit one of these submersible LEDs inside of it. I used this clear plastic hummus container for the underside of the portal. I then surrounded that with foam to create the inner core of the terrain node. I propped up the LED with a piece of scrap foam. Then I used the bottom of a plastic bottle to create the portal armature. By cutting angled cuts in a fan shape around the bottle bottom and fanning them out, I created a somewhat convincing portal shape. Then I used some clear drying paintable acrylic latex to add some dimension to the armature. This stuff is a little tricky to sculpt with, definitely wear some gloves. This particular brand says it takes 7 to 14 days to fully cure. You'll see it get clear as this project proceeds, but I wasn't about to wait 14 days to see if it really made a difference. I cut a few more pieces of plastic off to add some more portal wisps. Then I glued everything together with latex, filled in the edges, and went in with a sculpting tool to try and clean it up a bit. The next day it was looking clear already. I built the outer core with more scrap foam and construction adhesive. I let that dry overnight and got to work on the toothy spikes. First I created armatures for the spikes. To do that I twisted some pieces of lock wire together and glued them in place with hot glue. Then I covered them with tin foil, bulking out the shape a bit more. Again, I used hot glue to secure that. The back row of spikes are going to be more rounded and tall, and the front row of spikes are going to be more flat and curved, kind of like shark teeth. I also scattered a few tiny spikes between the two main rows. Next I scored the foam with my Olfa knife and mixed up some Sculptamold to blend the foam pieces together. I added some wood glue to the Sculptamold to hopefully keep it from flaking off. I'll say I really have a love-hate relationship with Sculptamold. It gets the job done, but it's got a lot of features I don't really care for. It kicks up a lot of dust when you're mixing it, and it has a really short work time. I'd suggest mixing it in a bag to minimize the dust issues. Now it's time to move on to a far superior sculpting product, Das Air Dry Clay. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's how I say it. This was sent to me by a subscriber. Thank you for that, much appreciated. I do have an Amazon wish list, by the way, if you want to send me some supplies. No need for a fancy roller here, I just used the palm of my hand to flatten the clay into 1/4-inch slabs. Then I wrapped those slabs around the spikes and pinched off the excess. This stuff has a much longer dry time. I split the spikes into 2 groups, but I probably could have gotten them all done in one go. Once I was happy with the shape of the spikes, I used a stiff brush to carve some texture into them. In front of the portal, I placed a few tiny triangular clay rocks, again matching the mall aesthetic. They kind of look like little teeth. Looking pretty good so far, right? Now to add some Lovecraftian tentacles. Similar process to the spikes. I glued some tinfoil strips down to the base. Then I cut out some arrow-shaped pieces of clay and layered them along each strip of tinfoil. I pinched at the top edge of each one to give it a ridge line. And once again I used a brush to add some texture and clean up the transition between each layer. And now it is time to paint. I mixed up a muddy gray for the base coat, and I was careful to avoid painting the portal here. The acrylic latex is very bendable after it dries, so it can easily be held back temporarily. Next I dry brushed everything with an off-white, just a drop of brown paint, some Mod Podge, and some white paint. I gave the portal a few highlights with that color as well, just around the edges and on the raised areas, kind of like a whitewater effect. With that zenithal undercoat complete, I decided to try airbrushing the rest of the colors on. I haven't done a whole lot of airbrushing on the channel. I usually just use it for priming and base coating, but I would like to get better at it. So first I went in with some Game Ink Red as kind of like a highlight color around the portal area. Then some violet on the back side where the light from the portal wouldn't reach. I used Skeleton Brown for the spikes and to desaturate the red and the violet a bit. And then I mixed some deep black and some Elfwood Brown, and I used that to darken up the back edges of the terrain a little more, to get some darker darks in the recessed areas. I decided to paint the portal red as well. I used Slaughter Red for that. The LED should still shine through pretty well. See? Next I went in with some more white paint to add some more highlights. And I airbrushed those with an opaque yellow and Fire Giant orange. So the portal was looking okay, but it just wasn't dark enough. I wanted it to match my alien spore mounds, so I went in with some straight black and Mod Podge and just darkened up the shadow areas a little bit. And at that point I decided to call it done. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, there are some links below. Consider joining the Haunts Wargaming Patreon. We're currently running our first crafting challenge, and we'll be running more events periodically. Again, thanks for watching, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you later.